Well, greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. This is episode 164, and I am your host, Rick Verbanis. And as always, I am joined by the best, and I mean the best, gosh darn, co-host out there. That is Mr. Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob, thank you for being a friend. Traveled down a road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. That's it.
Was that from the Golden Girls?
It was from the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
I'm glad you caught that. Yeah.
You know, for a second, I had a little bit of a brain fart, and I was thinking Bosom Buddies for some reason. What was the
Oh, well,
theme
okay.
of Bosom
Yeah, I
Buddies?
could see that. I could see that.
Yeah.
And not too far off in the time period.
Yeah.
Mid 80s. Yeah. So why am I doing the theme to the Golden Girls? You could say because we are covering a story today that takes place during the Golden Age. But more importantly, Bob, I just want to say thank you for being a friend, because I was having a pretty bad week last week. And you know what, listeners? This guy here sent me a little gift. And I say little, it was very little. We're talking like real small in the palm of your hand little. But it's the smallest gifts, Bob, have the biggest impact. And this here is it's a book. It's a hardcover book, small, tiny little hardcover book. And it's in a hardcover case of Captain America. And it is basically little excerpts, little quotes of Captain America on all these pages. And on one side and the other side is some really cool Captain America art. And Bob sent this just, to cheer me up. And what was the message that was in the package that you sent me, Bob?
I have no idea.
It was something like, hope your week gets better, Cap, signed Bucky.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And as you said, it's a little book because, quite frankly, it was the least I could do. Get it?
Well,
yeah,
I was afraid you were going with that for a little guy. Yeah, no, really, this measures the case itself that it's in measures 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches and 3/4 of an inch deep. So it is a very tiny book. I'll post a picture of it on the Facebook group. And I'm just going to pull open the book here, and I'm just going to pick a random page and get a quote from Captain America. Here we go. Toughness means a strong mind in a strong body, resisting weak thoughts and selfish acts.
Nice.
Yeah. And then next to that is a picture of a cover. I want to say volume 7. I couldn't tell you the issue number, but it's probably somewhere in the teens. It's a Patrick Zurcher. Anyway, he's charging a guy with a rifle. But anyway, yeah, it's really cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
It's very thoughtful.
Wow.
You also remind me how old I am because I have to get my readers out.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a really cool little book.
Yeah, and nice thing about those is they fit comfortably in your pocket. So a little,
I'll put it right next to my "What Would Cap Do" challenge coin.
Right, you have a coin in one pocket, little Cap quote book in the other. If you're having a tough day, tough situation, going into a big meeting, I like to have those little totems with me.
It is very thoughtful, very, very thoughtful. So thank you, Bob, for being a friend.
My pleasure, Rick.
And so we are covering today a story from the World War II period, Golden Age period. Now, it's not a Golden Age story, but it might as well have been. And by the way, this is part 2 we're covering today. If you missed last episode, you need to go back and listen to episode 163, where we cover Ghost Army Part 1. I mean, this is it's an original graphic novel that came out earlier this year in January of 2023, and it is a 8-part story, 8 chapters. We covered chapters 1 through 4 in last episode, and now we're going to cover the next 4. But before we get to that, Bob, how's your week going?
It's got its ups and downs, Rick, but as my dear old mother wrote on a Christmas card to me way back many years ago, at least I'm still vertical.
Yeah.
So
any day above ground, right?
Praise God for that. So so family's doing well. Gosh, no hurricanes down here in Florida. Work's going well. So
has anybody listened to the wives podcast episode and have given you feedback?
You mean my wife listened to it?
Did she now?
You know what surprised her, Rick? She said there's ads.
What were the ads for? I'm curious.
There was an ad for Amazon.
Okay.
And I can't remember what the second one was.
Yeah, we get like 4 cents for those ads, by the way.
Do we? Yeah. So she blamed it on me.
Why is that?
She's like, because like when you talk about stuff, like ads pop up on your Facebook. Like, she's convinced it's because I order so much off Amazon that now they're advertising on the podcast just to try to get to me.
Oh, wow.
So that I order more things. Like we're in some sort of secret tryst, me and Amazon, me and Jeff Bezos or something. So
I remember one time I was listening to one of our podcasts on the drive home from work. I something I never ever do, but it was it might have been like Escape, Dimension Z episode, because I was like, how am I doing those voices again? Because I had to figure out like what was I doing. So I went and popped it in. I'm listening to it on the drive home, and all of a sudden there was like a Taco Bell ad, and I was like, what the heck is this?
Wow.
And there was a Taco Bell ad, and yeah, I think we got 4 cents for that.
I hope as long as it's not that butt crack deodorant one I've been hearing on like CNN. I have Sirius XM in the car, and every now and again this ad comes on with this woman advertising butt crack deodorant. So
wowzers.
Like, yeah. So
I just Bob, you ever have those oh crap moments where like you're about to go into work and you have like a report due, or nightmare from being back in school, and you're like, oh, I have a report due, and I like that dreaded feeling?
Yeah.
I just had that.
About the butt crack deodorant?
No, about this podcast.
Oh.
Bob, I didn't go back and listen to last episode. I don't know how I'm doing these voices. It's been a week, Bob, since I did these voices. I don't know if I'm going to do them the same.
Okay. Well.
Oh no.
Yeah. But like you got Baron Mordo, just some sort of, I guess, Eastern European accent. Basketball.
Blah, 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 blah.
That's the one right there. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's his father, and then there's his grandfather. I don't remember how I did all their voices. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have a lot of upset fans.
We don't have fans, Bob. We have listeners. There's a difference. I don't think someone's gonna run into me at a convention and be like, "Can you sign my arm?"
Do Mordo for me.
Yeah, right.
Because we know how your British women are. No one's gonna ask for that.
Right.
Yeah, nobody's asking for that. So.
Nobody asked for that. Although I will say, Michael Johnson, in the Facebook group, he did defend my female British accents. He said, if you would love Rick's accents if you heard mine, because I just do mine in the Monty Python voices. Which I don't like spam. I'm pretty sure is how it probably goes. But
yeah, right.
Oh
goodness.
Did I ever tell you the time that I was at a comic book show and I saw somebody wearing like a Captain America thing. And so I have these like little flyers that I make up about the Facebook group and the podcast. And just I'm a guerrilla marketer guy, right?
Yeah.
That's what I do. So I give them out and I'm like, oh, you're a Cap fan, check out this, right? And so I hand, and before I go to hand it to this guy, and he turns me down and he goes, no, I know who you are. I listen to your podcast. I recognize your voice. I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Wow.
All right.
And he didn't want a souvenir signed handbill?
No, and that's again,
weird.
Bob. Listeners do not equal fans. They're totally two different things.
I guess so.
We hope we just make the show fun so that people just love hanging out with us. That's the goal of the show.
Well, I'm your fan, Rick. So
keep
up the great work.
Well, thank you for being a fan. So let's get into birthdays, Bob. So if you're listening to when this episode comes out, if you're in the future 2 weeks, because that's all, every one of you, I just wanted you to know, you're in the future.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the past. And as we record this, but this comes out on Wednesday, November 29th. On Thursday, November 30th, 2 birthdays, Bob. Robert Kirkman.
Mm.
Do you know who Robert Kirkman is?
Yeah. Was that volume 4 or something?
It was.
Yeah.
Most people think of him as Walking Dead creator, Invincible creator.
Yeah.
And so on. But yeah, no, he did do like a few issues and to end volume 4. He did a 4-part story. It was actually Captain America volume 4, number 29 through 32, which ended volume 4. It came out in 2004. And if anybody wants to hear that Robert Kirkman story panel by panel, check out episode 97. It's a fun story that involves the Red Skull. It has Diamondback, a few other cool villains
too.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a spicy story.
There is something about getting a room. I'll leave it at that. But anyway, happy birthday to Robert Kirkman. And then also on the same day, no longer with us as of this year, unfortunately, but Keith Giffen was born on November 30th. Loved Keith Giffen. He was one of the writers with J.M. DeMatteis, who did fantastic runs on the Justice League. The Bahaha Justice League, Kevin Maguire art, Adam Hughes. Man, that came out in the early 90s. Loved that series. He was co-creator of Lobo, and a few other notable characters. So yeah, Keith Giffen would be celebrating a birthday on November 30th as well.
I got a tangent for you, Rick. Speaking of being in the future.
Yes.
When I was a younger man, I went back to school. I was in the Marine Corps at the time. I was thinking of making a transition to the FBI. About the 10-year mark of my career, which is about the time when, you start thinking about, am I going to make major? Because if you make major, you can stay into retirement. It's hard to make major. So I was looking for plan B. So I went back to school to get a master's degree in forensic science. And at one point in this program, my instructor said, okay, next weekend, I need 2 of you to go with me to observe an autopsy.
Fun.
Down at the, coroner's office, at San Diego coroner's office. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. Extra credit. Sure. So I go down there that weekend, a week away, week and a half, actually. Went down there, got a guy on the slab, do the autopsy. Not me. I just observe. And here's the thing that always struck me is in class, when he said, I need 2 of you to come down to observe this, that guy wasn't dead yet. And that always freaked me out.
What?
That like when we were making that decision in class about who was going to go, this guy was living his life happy as a clam, right? I mean, he was murdered out on the street. So, but that just always freaked me out a little bit. right? That like, I mean, we didn't know it
Yeah.
was going to be that guy, and that guy didn't know it was going to be him, right? And
Yeah.
yet, and yet, I don't know. It's just weird, right?
That is really weird to think about.
In the future, like this,
Yeah.
you never know, right? And none of us know,
No, none of us know.
right?
I still think about, like, here's a morbid thought, right? If I pass away, right, and we record this particular podcast,
Right.
it will never see the light of day because you don't know how to edit. And
I'll just play the whole thing. Yeah.
you don't know how to get to it. You don't
That's
have
true.
access to it.
That's
You know what I
true.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be like
It's going to be like that Beatles song that just came out
right now
last
and then.
couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but
Someone
someday
will eventually be able
Peter
to get in
Jackson,
there.
Peter
Uh-huh.
Jackson will come in and make a documentary about this podcast, you and me, and probably cobble that together, release it 25 years hence.
Yeah.
You know,
And I'll be saying, hey, you there in the future.
right? And you'll mean it.
Ah,
So
totally.
yeah. So I mean, it's just weird, right? So we gotta like seize every day. It's a good
Exactly.
reminder, right? That every day matters with family and friends and things that matter to us.
100%. Oh, here's something I want to share with you that I thought was a little morbid. Um, so I'm looking up my welcome to you, and of course I'm looking up the Golden Girls theme, and and I'm looking up that. So then I go down this rabbit hole, and I'm learning more about Golden Girls. Bob, do you want to hear how old the characters of Dorothy, Rose, Blanche, and Sophia were supposed to be in 1985 when the series debuted?
I
Do you
really
want to
don't.
know?
No, I know where this is going to go because someone posted recently how old the cast of the Mary Tyler Moore Show was when it came
Oh,
out.
yeah, yeah,
Right, right.
yeah. Ed Asner.
She was
You
like,
thought,
yeah, I thought he was like
ah,
60.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how old were the Golden Girls?
All right. So Dorothy, played by B. Arthur, she was supposed to be 55.
That hurts.
Rose, played by Betty White, was
Yeah.
also supposed to be 55.
Okay. Okay.
Blanche, played by Rue McClanahan, 53.
Uh-huh.
And then Sophia, which is Dorothy's mom, Estelle
Yeah.
Getty, 79.
All right.
So yeah, they were supposed to be 55, 55, and 53, Bob. How old are you?
Yeah, I could be partying. I could be, yeah, me and
Right.
Blanche
Now,
could be
now the
dating.
only thing that's a saving grace for this is that at the time, B. Arthur and Betty White, they're supposed to be playing 55. They both actually were 63.
Oh,
So
okay.
they were older,
Yeah.
than they, might have
Yeah.
looked, right?
Okay.
Now, Rue McClanahan was 51,
Right.
playing a
Yeah.
53-year-old.
Yeah.
How old do you feel now?
Yeah. I know. I know. I showed a picture. It was on my Facebook post not too long ago. It was the day that I got commissioned in the Marine Corps, and it's me and my mom and my dad. I had just taken the oath, and they had pinned me on, and I showed this picture to my son, and I said, "Papa was only 6 months older than I am right now
Mm-hmm.
when he was in this picture," and he just kind of looked at me, and I said, "Let me just say it again. Papa was only, and he's like, I get it. You're fishing for a quote. You're fishing for a compliment. Okay. You look great. Okay.
Ah, okay.
But I couldn't believe it, So,
Yeah, right.
so
Yeah,
we look awesome.
oh, we totally do.
We do.
In
I don't know
fact,
what it is, but
well, it's our immaturity. I
that
think
must be
it's
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it keeps our youthful personality. It's funny is I was talking to Megan tonight at dinner, and I was like, I'm trying to come up with a hello,
Yeah.
and then I end up saying what I came up with was, and then I mentioned the thing about the different ages, and I was like, can you believe that? And she goes, well, no, when I look at you, there's no way. And like, and look, and she was being sincere because
Oh, was she?
she's
Okay.
yeah, shut up. Yeah, totally. Anyway, uh,
Oh, goodness.
yeah. Well, where do you go from there? All right, here you go. All right, Bob, we finally got. It's been 5 months, Bob. we finally got a new Apple review.
Yes.
No. No. So I'm looking at the ratings, and our ratings dropped to a 4.5 out of 5.
Oh no.
Because somebody gave us a 1-star review. So now I think we have two 1-star reviews now.
I bet it was that German guy.
No, Bob, here's the thing. I go on here and I look, and on November 9th, this person must have been drunk or
that's the only
high
explanation.
or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
because he goes on about a comic book creator that we have never talked about on this show. Never.
Maybe that's his beef.
No, he's talking about how he says this person's incredibly abusive, and his name's attached to blah blah blah. Like, he's just going on his rampage about this particular comic book creator.
Yeah.
And then gives us a 1-star review.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, we've never talked about this comic book creator on the show. We've never covered anything that comic book creator has ever done on this show. That comic book creator is not associated with any Captain America story that I am aware of. Yeah. And we have never covered. Yet he's, and he's writing in all caps. It's not the best let's just say grammar.
Yeah.
Anyway, so listen, if anybody wants to check out this really bizarre review on Apple Podcasts, please check it out. And while you're there, give us a 5-star review and a review, and then we will read it here on the air, and help us out, because this guy just ruined our average.
Unbelievable. I think I told you I had a German tourist. You can get on Google and do reviews of the different trail systems I help manage.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy left me a 2-star review because there wasn't any wildlife. But he went in the afternoon in the driest part of the season, where it's hot. Like, wildlife don't just show up on demand, right? I mean, they come out when it's cool in the morning, and he went on and on and on how it ruined his vacation. He came all the way from Germany, and this ruined his. So he took it out on me, took it out on the 2-star. And I'm like, this isn't Disneyland, dude.
Yeah.
It's a hiking trail. You get what you get.
Right.
It's not like we don't stock it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, my dad, I mentioned before, he worked for DuPont, but his passion was, he had a fishing boat, and he took people out fishing, and I was the first mate for 8 years. But there were plenty of times where we would, people pay good money to go on a boat, to go out fishing. Right. And there've been plenty of times where, not a lot, a small percentage, but still enough times for me to remember just being out there in the ocean, and we're not catching anything. We're not catching. So my dad's like, all right, we're going to move over, this area and see if there's fish over here. And then we're going to move over here and see if there's fish over there. And you just, it's like, okay, well, sorry you didn't catch any fish, but you had a beautiful day out in the ocean,
right?
For 8 hours. But yeah, I hear you.
I know people, huh? So yes, do a review. Let's get our numbers up, folks.
Yeah. God, it was so bizarre. I was like, yeah, we got a review. Oh. All right, Bob, should we get to chapter 5 of Captain America, the Ghost Army?
Probably should.
All right.
Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira, pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Uma pausa no seu podcast para falar sobre a beleza, essa força poderosa que nos move. No Grupo L'Oréal, nós criamos a beleza com sustentabilidade. Utilizamos em nossas embalagens 85% de plástico PET de origem reciclada. 65% dos ingredientes vieram de base biológica ou derivados de minerais abundantes. Grupo L'Oréal, nós criamos a beleza que move o mundo.
Just as a quick recap, this is written by the #1 New York Times bestselling author, Alan Gratz, who wrote some all ages stories such as Refugee and Ground Zero, and then illustrated by the very talented Brent Schoonover. And by the way, come back next episode because we're going to have both Alan and Brent on the show to discuss the Ghost Army. So that'll be a lot of fun. So let's, as we're going through the rest of this story today, we'll have to think of some questions that we want to ask them.
Indeed. Those guys, this is a great book for kids and adults so far. And I got a lot of questions for them.
All right, Bob. So just picking up where we left off. So we're in very, very early days of Captain America's or Steve Rogers being Captain America, right? Yeah. So he's like 18.
Right.
And so he's out there. He's out in Europe right now. And when we're in Europe, we're talking about do you remember the countries that they're involved here, Bob?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, the bulk of the story takes place in this country called Transia, which is part of the Marvel universe, 616 universe, not a real country, but it is located between, if I'm not mistaken, Romania and Transylvania. And was it Hungary in the north or
Yugoslavia,
which no longer exists, but certainly did at that time. Yeah.
Yep, and it's not too far from Latveria, where Dr. Doom resides, and also not too far from Castle Dracula. And then also in Transylvania is Castle Mordo. So we will the villain in this story is Baron Mordo. So it's a very young Baron Mordo who ends up being a major nemesis of Doctor Strange.
The interesting thing about this story so far is we're seeing a lot of characters before we're used to seeing them in the Silver Age comics, Bronze Age, Modern Age comics, right? So this is pre-Doctor Strange, pre-Kamatage Baron Mordo. This is a pre-Howling Commandos Dum Dum Dugan that we've encountered, pre-Howling Commandos Jim Morita. And so a lot of characters we're seeing introduced very, very early on, earlier than we've seen any of them before.
Yeah, good point. That was something definitely we talked about in the last episode. And then also just to kind of get you up to speed on the story. So Cap and Bucky are confronted by this ghost. Well, the army of ghosts, right? And so they realize that they can't fight them. They're not physical. So the best thing they can do is, somehow, like Cap uses his shield to fan them away. And then they realize they can't go across moving water. So that's how they escape from them. As you pointed out, this is the first time Cap meets Dum Dum Dugan. And then also you mentioned Jim Morita. He is leading something called the Ghost Army. And now the Ghost Army, Bob, do you want to kind of fill people in on what they do? And this is actual facts, right? This isn't just fiction here.
Yeah. So this was an actual army unit in World War II, and its job was deception. So they hired a bunch of costume designers, stage designers, other artists, even maybe comic book artists, and so hired people who would basically create the illusion of military units. And so they had things like inflatable tanks and inflatable aircraft, things that would give the appearance of soldiers, and also loudspeaker systems that would make it sound, broadcast the sound of a military force in movement, right? So it would sound like there was troops nearby, or artillery pieces moving nearby, or tanks or jeeps or trucks.
Mhm.
So the idea was, of course, to deceive the enemy, one, either thinking that's where they want to attack, or more likely to avoid that location and avoid a larger force. So very effective in real life. It was used extensively in the the European theater in World War II. And, we continue to use similar sorts of tactics throughout the Cold War until the development of spy satellites. So back when we used aircraft to fly over countries, they used that in the United States as well, even domestically, to fool Soviet surveillance reconnaissance aircraft.
Yep. Yeah. Then we also get introduced to a few new characters. There are some villagers that Cap and Bucky go help to protect and drive away the Nazis. And one of them is an older gentleman. I don't even know what to say anymore, Bob. I mean, the whole Golden Girls thing has thrown me off.
You hate to use
right?
that pejorative now. Yeah.
Right. So, I would have placed this guy at 75, but gosh, now, the teenage me was watching Golden Girls would have said this guy was 55. But I don't know. But let's go with 75.
Yeah, let's do that.
So his name is Andrei Maximov. Oh,
interesting name.
Yeah, especially in the Wundagore area.
Yeah.
And he has a granddaughter, Sophia.
Nice recap, Rick.
Chapter 5, Bob.
I love the smell of a good young adult graphic novel.
I'm so glad you finished that sentence. All right. So what do we got here? Chapter 5 is what? Titled?
Oh, I'm sorry. Power.
There you go. And there's Baskerville after Sophia and Bucky. And he's got the magic hand, Bob. Baskerville, were you in on this the whole time? No, I was just like playing for the winning team. This isn't some cricket game. This is right versus wrong. And guess which one you are, Baskerville? And then he turns his hand into a sword and he comes at Sophia, but she puts up a shield that she picked up from the fallen armor of the knights that were in the hallway. And then Bucky picks up a sword and shield and he comes at them. So the two of them on either side of Baskerville, but again, he's got a magical hand that can change and do things. And so he hits Bucky and knocks him down. And then he sees Sophia coming at him and he says, "I don't think so, my dear." And he knocks away her shield. And so he then on the next page looks at them and, "My new hand is incredible. I really am untouchable. And now it's time for you two to pay for the trouble you've caused the man who gave me this power." And just then, Sophia turns. She uses a sword to knock off a tapestry off the wall, who falls down on Baskerville and allows the two of them to escape. And I just want to point out this point. Sophia, who worked in the castle previously, so she kind of knows the ins and outs.
Right.
She grabs Bucky's hand and leads him out of the castle. Next panel, they are far away from the castle. They're running in the woods, running down a hill. She's still leading him and holding his hand.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Back there in the hallway, how did you know it used to be my job in the castle to whack those things clean with the broom, and I might have lost my job when one of them fell on me. And then we get to the town the next morning. How do you pronounce that, Bob? It's Loch Cuadot.
Loch Sadat?
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So we're back in the home of Andre and Sophia, and Andre is pouring some, looks like coffee into some mugs for Sophia and Bucky as they're warming up from their all-nighter. It was a man named Mordo. He built a magical machine that raises ghosts from the dead. And that British guy, Baskerville, was with him, Cap. Mordo's given him some kind of magic ghost hand. Wish I had some kind of superpowered hand, but I'd use it to be a hero, not a villain. A little foreshadowing
Wow.
there.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring that up to Alan. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mordo was talking about his ghost machine reaching all the way to Brasov. Brasov is a city of close to 100,000 people, about 200 miles east of here, in Romania. That's where Dugan and the British troops were headed, to meet up with the Allied 3rd Infantry Division. That's almost 30,000 men. Where's Mordo going to get enough ghosts to fight them? I remember Brasov from my time as a soldier in the First World War. It was the site of a huge battle. There I go again, Bob. Huge tracts of land.
Couldn't help it. Couldn't help it, folks.
Romanian soldiers put up a heroic defense of the city for 2 days until the German forces finally routed them. In the end, it was a massacre. Tens of thousands of soldiers died in the Battle of Brasov on both sides. That's where Mordo's ghost army will come from. You say you broke this ghost machine, but didn't destroy it? Yeah, and there's no chance of us sneaking in again, not with the Nazis on high alert. Well, you saved the villagers, that's for sure. And you at least brought us some time to come up with a plan of attack. But whatever we do, we're going to have to do it fast. There's no telling when Mordo to have his ghost machine fixed. And we cut to Mordo fixing the ghost machine, and there's his ghost of a dad, haunting him. Still you labor over this foolishness while your father's killer walks free? I don't know, Bob. Was that anywhere close to the voice I did before?
Yeah, I think so. I
Okay.
mean, I don't think most people are going to notice. It sounds like a Romanian count who's dead.
Blah, 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 blah.
How far off can you be?
I told you, I'm not strong enough to defeat Crowley yet. But when this machine is finally at full power, the fear and suffering it will cause will give me access to more power than you could ever imagine. Power enough to what? Uh-oh. Grandpa came back on the magical screen to see him, and he's talking to Mordo. Viscount Kralla. The power to what, my grandson? To defeat the enemies of the Third Reich, of course. The ghost machine is damaged. How could you let this happen? I had wards on the castle, but not on the machines. I will not make that mistake again. Well, have the saboteurs been caught? And so we see Baskerville come up in front of him and kneel. I'm sorry, master. They tricked me. It was a girl from the village and that boy who works with Captain America. The American superhero must be behind this. And then he bows in front of him even more. Enough. Seal the entrance they used. Double the guards at the gates. Change the watches and patrols. Make sure they don't bother us again. I must be ready for tonight's attack on Brasov. And the grandpa speaks. You cannot wait for Captain America to attack again. If there's one thing we know about him here in Berlin, it is that he will ruin everything. You must find him and kill him. I can't spare the soldiers. You left me with only one squadron to guard the castle, and the squadron guarding the village ran away for some reason. Soldiers? Squadrons? You think like a mundane general. We are sorcerers. You have never had the vision to become a powerful mage, Mordo. Let me show you how a real sorcerer fights. By the hoary hosts of Hogwarth. And then he starts putting together like a whole bunch of broken armor into walking knights. Mein Gott, Or perhaps it's not your lack of vision that holds you back, Mordo, but your lack of power. He looks out the window out into the gate, and we see a dozen or so just pieces of armor walking through the gates out to the village. And they are clanking and clicking along.
Nice trick.
Chapter 6.
Clash.
Oh, sorry. Different one.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, so we cut back into Andre and Sophia's place, and we see Bucky and Sophia having a spar of some sort, or he's teaching her some fighting moves. And then it gets to a point where she leans up back into him, and she turns and she smiles inches from his face. And Bucky smiles at her. Yes, good. Again. Did Captain America teach you to fight? Are you kidding? I taught him. And then just like that, she flips Bucky, and he's on the floor. Somehow, I doubt that. Yeah, no. My mom died when I was little, and I lived on an army base with my dad until he died in a training accident. And she helps him up. I am sorry. It's okay. I was little. I don't remember it much, but I didn't want to leave, so the army base kept me around. I kind of became the camp mascot. I picked up so much from the other soldiers that I was eventually recruited for covert special ops training. So you and Captain America, is he like your brother or something? Kinda, but not by birth. We're brothers in arms, a team. But you have no superpowers as he does. Nope, just my dashing good looks, my crackerjack smarts, and my uncanny reflexes. And she smiles and rolls her eyes. But it's not like a, I don't believe you, rolling your eyes. That's not the expression. She is smiling.
She is.
There's a little flirting going on. Yeah.
So adorable.
Cap's a symbol. He's the one with the big red, white, and blue target on him. Me, I'm the stealthy one. The army put me and Cap together because I could do things Cap can't. Like sneak into a castle. Yeah, Cap's not so great at sneaking. He's more of a knock down the front door kind of guy. And now that Mordo knows we're here, knocking down the front door might be... And he looks out the window. Cap? What does he see, Bob?
Oh my goodness, it's that whole platoon of suits of armor that have been animated by Crowler's magic, and they're marching in formation right down the center of the village street.
Yeah, and they have their swords and their shields and their maces and all kinds of... It doesn't look good. So the four of them exit Andre's building, and they're standing out front. This is new. They're not attacking the villagers. No, they're coming straight for us. So Cap grimaces, takes his shield, and he throws it, and it hits two of them, ricocheting, and comes back into his hand, and they fall down. Finally, something I can hit. And then the ruckus starts, Bob.
Ooh, I like a good ruckus.
And it makes noises.
It does. Cronk, smash, crash, thwack.
And they're all fighting along. We're taking these walking tin cans to night school. But just then, Andre gets hit in the back of the head, full blown, with a huge mace.
Yeah, that's spiked, those maces are spiked, Rick. So that's gonna take some aspirin.
That's more than that.
Yeah.
And Sophia yells out, Moshe. And she runs over to him. Moshe? Moshe. And she's holding him, crying because she knows. Sophia, your grandfather, is he? And she's just holding back. The tears are coming. Cap, we have to get those guys right now. No, Bucky. Soon, but not now. I have help on the way. And so the villagers and Cap start cleaning up all the armor. And who shows up, Bob?
It's Jim Morita and the Ghost Army.
Hey, Captain, got your call. Looks like you've been busy. Thanks for coming, Morita. We need help attacking the castle up there. I want to help, Captain, but frontal assaults are kind of not our thing, you know? I just need a distraction, something to keep the guards guessing. Bucky and I will do the assaulting. Aren't you worried a castle like that is going to see right through our simple tricks? I thought about that. That's why I've called in some special equipment. And he points to the sky, and there's a plane, and coming out of the plane are some huge crates that have parachutes on them. And they come to the ground, and Cap says, thought you might like an upgrade. And what is printed on the crate, Bob?
You know, it appears to be Stark Industries, Rick.
I think you're right, Bob. Later that day, back in Andre's place, the other Morita and a few other soldiers are there talking with Cap, and Bucky is holding the hand, consoling Sophia. The Ghost Army is ready when you are, Captain. Captain, I got Corporal Dugan with the Allied 3rd Brasovs on the radio. Dugan, Captain America. We found the machine that makes the ghosts, and the guy who built it is going to use it to raise an army of World War I soldiers in Brasov tonight. Bucky and I are going to try to put a stop to it, but you've got to find a way to hold out until we can shut the machine down for good. We'll do our best, but Cap, there's no river in Brasov. Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh, that creates a difficulty.
Bucky, we have to hurry. Sophia, we could use your help up there, but I don't understand if you can't come. No, my grandfather's mother died while he was off fighting in the First World War, and that never stopped him. I'll fight too, for Moshe, for revenge. And they're outside, and they all get on a motorcycle. And they get on the motorcycle, and Cap looks at Sophia. You all right? No. Okay. And then they speed off, Bob. And you could tell the motorcycles are moving because why?
Because they have a cloud of exhaust behind them.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. This is before they
emission standards. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chapter 7.
Entrances.
So it's nighttime at Castle Mordo, and not only, I guess you remember, he said he wanted more guards. So now we have a couple tanks, Bob. Inside the gates, we have soldiers, and then the grandfather of Mordo comes through his little dimension portal. Baron Mordo, my grandson and I have come for the final demonstration. Is the machine prepared? Yes. And have you put up magical wards to protect it this time? I have. As you can see, nothing but stronger magic can get through this barrier. And then we have the dad who's haunting him as a ghost. Now, do it now. Avenge me. Kill him now. Not yet. Grandfather, if you just stand here in this circle where you'll be the safest, you'll also have the best view of Brasov, where the ghosts of Germany's past failures are about to come back to haunt the Allies. Let the show begin. And he pulls down a lever. Chung! And next thing you know, in Brasov, where Dum Dum Dugan is there and his allies, and all of a sudden, a lot of army of ghosts show up, and they're glowing green. And they do look older, Bob, because they're more decayed, and they're wearing World War I uniforms.
Right, a lot of them have those Kaiser helmets, right, with the single spike on the top of them.
Indeed. And one of the soldiers starts firing at him, and Dugan pushes his rifle down. I told you, Bullets and bombs don't do anything to these things. Hit the fan. And in back of one of the trucks, they turn on this giant fan, and it blows away the apparitions. Ha! It's working. How many things we got? I don't know. Maybe like 5 for the whole city? Son of a ghost. I hope Cap and the kid have our backs. And we cut back to Castle Mordo and the 3 motorcycles, and they are running up the entranceway to the gate. And of course, everybody sees them and notices them. And Cap pulls out a big old walkie-talkie, and he says, Marita, if you got a rabbit to pull out of your hat, now's the time to do it. Oh, I think we've got something a little better than a rabbit, Captain. Okay, boys, time to fire up our ghost machines. And sure enough, they've got all these electrical screen doohickey, very large panels type of thing, and they're hitting levers and twisting dials, and next thing you know, the baskets that are floating in the hot air balloons above, they get all fire up with electricity, and Marita says, "Let the magic show begin." And we turn the page, Bob, and it's a double page splash. What are we looking at?
We're looking at monsters, Rick. We got a lot of monsters, very, very large monsters that are, they look like ghosts, actually, but not green ghosts, bluish ghosts.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and they're on the other side of the gate. They're on both sides of the gate, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And what's really cool, Bob, is there's a lot of different monsters here, different types of monsters, and many of them are recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got the werewolf, we got classic ones like the werewolf and Frankenstein's monster and Dracula and a mummy and creature from the Black Lagoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then you've got some ones that are definitely Marvel,
Yeah.
right? So you have Sauron, which is like that pterodactyl,
Mhm.
right? One.
Yeah.
You've got Man Thing, right?
Yeah.
Did I ever show you my giant sized Man Thing?
Maybe another time.
Okay. And then you've got Fing Fang Foom,
Mm-hmm.
who is a like a dragon type of creature, and then one called the Living Zombie, which was a character I think from the 70s. Definitely he was in the 70s. I don't know if he started there or not. And so the Cap is hitting something that is like a time bomb, and he throws the time bomb in front of the gate, and it blows it up, and then it actually knocks the gate down on top of a tank, and it creates a ramp that the 3 of them very stylistically jump over the ramp with their motorcycles. Oh, I don't know, 40 feet in the air. And then, of course, they all land perfectly and screech to a halt. And Bucky says to Sophia, "See, what'd I tell you? Cap is a knock down the front door kind of guy." And then, of course, they're all fighting. And Sophia asks, "Are they real, the monsters?" "Holograms. That's what Marita calls them. Some trick of Stark's. They look real, but they're just harmless cartoon ghosts. And they're not going to fool the Nazis for long. We need to move. First one to the ghost machine shuts it down for good." And they split up. Cap goes one way and the kids the other. And then we cut back to Brassoff, Bob, and the ghosts are being blown away, literally, with those fans. And then somebody gets a hose, and they're firing a hose to create water. "We've run out of water." "Retreat! Retreat! There's too many of them." "Whatever you're doing, Cap, you better hurry it up, or there are going to be a lot more ghosts in this city by daybreak." Cut back to the castle, and Cap's making short work of some German soldiers with his shield. And he gets on his walkie-talkie to Bucky. Buck, you getting anywhere? No, we're still fighting flunkies. We got to move faster. Every second we waste here is another second Mordo's ghost army kills more people in Brasov. We got to find a quicker way to the top. Let's take the elevator. The elevator? It's a dumbwaiter. They use it to send food up from the kitchen. And, Bob, what's a dumbwaiter? Can you explain it?
Yeah, it's a mini elevator, Rick. So, I've been in like old hotels where they've had them. And so, usually there's a tiny little door, and you open the door up, and the dumbwaiter might be, a couple feet square. And usually, there's a pulley system, and so they can bring food up to your room from the kitchen by putting it in the little elevator car and sending it up to your room, and beeps, and you open the door and pull out your food. So it's not big, right? It's not designed to transport people. It's for food and laundry and those sorts of things.
How would you, like, when you say not big, like what size?
Maybe like 2 or 3 feet square. So yeah.
Okay. So when Bucky says, there's no way we'll both fit in there, and then Sophia goes and she squats in and she grabs Bucky's hand, but, and then the two of them get cramped into, next to each other, got legs intertwined, arms intertwined, face to face. Okay, Romeo, start pulling. Bucky's got a big old smile on his face. Probably not the only thing he's got.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we cut to next page, and Cap is battling a bunch of German soldiers. And then outside, he sees the holograms of Fing Fang Boom and some others. Taking the elevator sounds like a good idea right now. Sorry, fellas, I don't have time to mess around. And he throws some soldiers. Hope this works. And Cap goes running towards the window, and he's being fired at by machine guns, and he's evading them. He's 4 stories up, Bob.
Yeah.
And he busts out of the window, and it crashes. Down below, what is it?
It's a trailer, a container trailer, with a fuel tank on the back. Full of
fuel truck,
gasoline. Yeah.
And so we have 4 panels, roughly, the same size on this page. So we're seeing the same angle, but the only thing different is seeing Cap doing his thing. And so we see the glass break out of this window in the first panel. Second, third, fourth, you see the glass and Cap falling further down. But what Cap is doing in the second panel is he takes his shield, he throws it with velocity, strength, and it hits the fuel truck down below in the third panel. Then it ricochets back up, and it causes an eruption in the tank, which causes an explosion. But the shield is ricocheting back up to him in the fourth frame. He uses that to put the shield down underneath him, and then uses the blast to repel him. On the next page, this huge splash page, right? And it ricochets him and propels him further up. So he was on the 4th floor. Now he's going through the window of the 5th floor. And I know, Bob, you just want to make a loud noise. Ooh. And then the next page. And he lands. Where does he land, Bob?
Oh my goodness. Right in the middle of the Baron Mordo laboratory, where the ghost machine is located.
Yes. And there's the 3 generations of Mordos there. And Baron Mordo says, that was quite an entrance. And Cap throws his shield, hits the magic that's around the grandfather, and it ricochets back. He goes to punch it. It knocks him back. No bullets, no bombs, Not even your amazing shield, Captain, can penetrate this magic barrier. You have lost. Brasov, it's already started. Shut it down, mortal. You're playing with a power you can't control. Oh, but I can control it, Captain. Just long enough to tear a hole in reality and free Doramaru from his imprisonment in the dark dimension. Who? And then both the grandfather and the father look at Mordo. What? Carl, no. Nikolai. And at just this point, I guess because the father spoke, the grandfather can now see the ghost. Nikolai? So you're behind this mad idea to release Doramaru? No, never. Carl, Doramaru is too powerful. If you let him through, he will destroy everyone and everything in this world. I can't let you. What? And just as the grandfather was about to cast a magic spell, there's something around him. Because, remember he was told to stand in a certain spot?
Hey, yeah, that circle.
Another force field? Mordo, release me. Did you really think I cared about you and your dreams of Nazi conquest, grandfather? I just needed your resources, your equipment. What I want is revenge. You killed my father, Crowler, stole his magic, and while I may not be powerful enough to have my revenge on you, the Lord of Darkness, the Eater of Souls, is. And then you see in the room like some sort of breaking through, like a barrier. Something's cracking open from another dimension. And then this sound makes a rumble in the dumbwaiter. What is that? I don't know, but we gotta hurry. And we turn to the next page is a giant splash page, one big panel, and we see the eye of Dormammu. This, dear father, is why I have wasted my time tinkering with this toy. Now at last, I will finally have the power to defeat our enemies. The terror, the fear, the deaths the ghost machine causes in Brasov, all that psychic energy should be enough to open a door to the dark dimension and let the dread Dormammu into our world.
Oh my.
Dun, dun, dun. Bob, we got one chapter left and has been building up to this. Are you ready? Chapter 8?
I'm ready. Revenge.
All right. So we're kicking off this chapter and we cut to Sophia and Bucky getting out of the dumbwaiter into a dark room. Looks like a library. La stop. Looks like some kind of study. And then sitting in a chair in the dark room, someone clicks on the light, Bob. Who is it?
Oh my gosh. It's Sir Anthony Baskerville.
Welcome back. It's time to finish what we started, don't you think? And Bucky, what do you call that expression when someone puts a fist inside their palm, and what is that?
I don't know. I don't know what the technical name of that is, but I like this panel. I like that he looks determined, that he's like, yeah, all right, we're going to finish it.
Yeah, he's just snarling almost,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Bud, you took the words right out of my mouth. And Bucky kicks a rolling chair at him, but Baskerville just uses his magic hand to create a little, what do they call those wooden horses? What do they call those things?
Yeah, it's a wooden horse, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's for like when you use them for construction,
right? And then he destroys it, and then Sophia comes kicking. Buck comes with his knife at him, and he just uses a shield to block them. Next page, gigantic splash page, one panel. He has a gigantic bear claw that is coming at them. You can't possibly hope to defeat me. This hand is born from Mordo's magic. The stronger he is, the stronger it is, too. I am finally well and truly untouchable. Run! And then he uses a mallet and hits Sophia pretty hard in the midsection. And then he gets a what do you call it? It's not a pitchfork, but it looks like a trident.
Yeah, trident. Yeah.
And hits that at Bucky, knocks him back. And then just then, Baskerville goes over to finish off Sophia. We turn the page. What?
Oh, twist.
There's a glowing hand coming from his torso from the other side. Somebody's reaching through, and Baskerville falls. And who is it, Bob?
It's Moshe, Andrei Maximov.
Yeah,
recently deceased.
He's a ghost, but he's glowing green. Moshe. And she runs towards him. Wait, don't touch him. His touch, it didn't hurt you. It appears it only does that when I want it to. But Moshe, how? Mordo's ghost machine. It brought me back, just like the others. I suppose that means I have unfinished business in this world. And as Bucky is tying up Baskerville, we all do. Is he dead? No, but he may be more useful to us alive. Come on, we gotta find Cap. And he picks up Baskerville over his shoulder. Next page, giant splash page, one panel. It is Dormammu coming through from the other side. His upper torso's through, so he's making his way. And how would you describe Dormammu?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's ginormous, obviously, Rick, and he's got almost like a jack-o'-lantern head. It's kind of a combination between a jack-o'-lantern and a Baron Zemo. So it's like a striated mask that looks like a pumpkin, but without the stem. And he's got that jack-o'-lantern mouth and the jack-o'-lantern eyes. And he's got a purple. His clothes are purple with orange gloves. And in this particular image, he's got fire coming out of like hell and brimstone, apparently coming off his head, out of his the top of his shirt. It's coming off his back, crackling energy all around him. And as I said, he's ginormous, and he's reaching down toward Cap, who's got his shield up, trying to hold him off.
Yeah, very nice. And did you mention that his head was on fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I am almost free. And Cap uses his shield to hit away Dormammu's hand. It's like pounding on vibranium. I can't hurt it. And then we're seeing over in, was it Basov? Brasov. Okay. Cap, are you there? We're losing, Cap. And it's Dum Dugan. Mordo. And then Mordo's dad. Carl, stop this insanity. All my life, you have haunted me, needled me, commanded me to avenge your death. And now, at last, at the moment of my ultimate achievement, you would have me stop? If it's just as you want, I can help you, Mordo. You don't have to hurt anybody else to make Crowler pay for his crimes. No, Dormammu may destroy this world, but he has promised to make me prince of what survives, and to kill my dear grandfather first. What are you doing? Have you gone mad? If I can destroy the floor, send the whole contraption falling into the basement. There's no time. Dormammu is almost free. Ha 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 ha. Next page. Dormammu's coming through. And Buck and Sophia and Andre the ghost show up. Looks like we're late to the party. Bucky, get out of here. The ghost machine is shielded by magic, and Mordo is using it to let a demon into the world from another dimension. I am no demon, mortal. I am a god. Well, that's worse then. Get everybody as far away from here as you can, Buck. I got a better idea. And he brings over Baskerville, whose hand's still glowing, Bob, even though he's unconscious. And he unties him and then uses his hand to break Mordo's containment spell. No, stop. Next page, giant page splash, one panel. The magical shield, it's going down. Cap, hit it. And then just as Cap gets his shield ready, who gets in front of him to stop him, Buck?
Oh my gosh, it's Sophia.
No, I just got my grandfather back. If you destroy the ghost machine, he'll be gone forever. Please. Sophia, I have to do this. People are dying in Brasov. A giant monster is breaking through into our reality. And then just then, Andre comes over to talk some sense into Sophia, his granddaughter. No, my dear. We must let the ghosts of the past stay dead and buried. That's what keeps getting us into trouble. This constant cycle of revenge. We must stop injustice where we find it and hold those responsible accountable. But then we must move on. You must move on. That is the only way. And she gives him a hug, realizing it's true. Cap throws the shield at the ghost machine, and it hits it, ricocheting, causing an explosion, Bob.
Boom, ba-boom.
No. And just then, the grandpa goes away in his little escape portal, and he's shaking his fist like he's going to get revenge. We turn the page, double page splash, Bob. It is one gigantic panel taking up 2 pages, and it is a big explosion, and it makes a noise.
No. Boom.
And then we see the next page from the perspective of the ghost army with Marita. They see the explosion on Wundagore Mountain. And then we cut to Brasov, and there's Dum Dum Dugan being the hero, helping people over a wall to get away from the ghosts, leaving himself vulnerable. But just at the last second, the ghosts pop away. Next page, giant 1-page splash. We have a castle in ruins, and Cap standing there at the edge, and there's Bucky and Sophia. Bucky's consoling her. It's over. Cut to the next page. The next day in Loch Seadat.
Yeah, I think Loch Seadat.
Oh, okay, there you go. And everybody's packing up. Dum Dum Dugan's there, shaking the hand of Captain America. Thought we were goners for sure. Looks like I'm going to owe you one forever. And Marita comes up. Can we keep all the Stark tech? Dressing up like a general is fun, but I wonder if we could create a fake one, like a life model decoy. Whatever you need, Jim. Couldn't have done it without you. Life model decoy. Is that supposed to be the first time we think about that?
I think this would be chronologically anyway. I think that's the first time it's mentioned.
And then we cut to a page that's devoted to Bucky and Sophia saying their farewells. So I guess this is goodbye then. You could always come with us. I mean, you're a good fighter. No, I'm going to stay here help my village recover. And then when the war ends, I'll go to university, like I promised my grandfather. But I will keep fighting in the local resistance, not for revenge, but for freedom. Farewell, Bucky. And she kisses him on the cheek, and she walks away. How is it I fight to save a whole city, and you're the one who gets the girl? So listen, kid, I didn't think you should be here, but you're good. You and Cap make a great team. Thanks. I look forward to fighting alongside you again sometime, Buck. And he salutes him, and Buck salutes back. Same here, Dugan. So then Bucky walks over to Cap, who's kind of standing just propped up against a well. Well, I never figured us on fighting wizards and ghosts. Yeah, strange stuff. We need a sorcerer like that on our side. Now I like that, right?
Yeah, right.
We need a sorcerer on our side. Strange stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nice play, little play on words there, Alan. I like that. We'll have to bring that up to him.
Yeah.
Think you're still out there somewhere? Mordo, Crowler, Baskerville? With all that magic they were throwing around? I think we can count on it. Next page, we go to Mount Wundagore. And we see Baskerville with his glowing hand. Now, if he's got hands glowing, doesn't that mean Mordo's still alive?
That's exactly what it means.
His other arm is in a tourniquet, and he's walking up a snowy mountain. Mordo must still be alive if my hand is working. But where is he? Then we cut next page, and we see Mordo. And he's in the woods, far away from the castle. It's in the background. And he's sitting there next to a river, contemplating. So close. I was so close. And then his dad appears, the ghost. You are a fool, Carl. A weak, pathetic fool. Striking a deal with Duramu, the Dread One, the Eater of Souls. You're lucky to be alive. Duramu is too powerful. The cost of his bargain's too great. How else was I supposed to avenge your murder? Crowler knows all the magic you once knew, and more. There's one who can teach you. Go to a place called Karamartaj in the Himalayan mountains, and find there a man called the Ancient One. Now that's interesting, right? So that's how Mordo gets his magical powers, right? He goes to the same place that eventually Dr. Stephen Strange goes to.
Yeah.
Then we cut to the very last page, and it's our heroes. It's our heroes, Bob. It's Steve and James sitting on the back of a moving truck, and you could tell it's moving. Why, Bob?
Because it's got exhaust.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with no, this is the dust coming up from the dirt road.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
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 They have their masks off as they're sitting there on the back, driving away. West out of Transia towards Yugoslavia, on to the next mission. Cap, you ever think about what we'll do after the war's over? Where's this coming from? Sophia, she has plans for what she's going to do after the war. I never thought that far in advance. I just take things one mission at a time. But we won't be doing this forever, will we? No, of course not. We'll win eventually. We have to. And the war will end. And then what? You think they'll put us on ice? No. There'll always be other problems we can take care of. Just as long as you and me are still fighting the good fight, Steve. Side by side. That's all I care about. Of course, Buck. We'll always be there for each other. And anybody else who needs us. The end.
Wow.
We think they'll put us on ice?
It's a nice foreshadowing, a bit bittersweet as well, though, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely has some twists and turns in that relationship.
All right, Bob. So we took 2 episodes to cover this. What did you think? What are your thoughts on the story?
Oh, it's a great story, Rick. It's not too, look, it's lighthearted in ways, it's serious in other ways. There's a lot of great historical context, but it's just a good romp, It's a good, fun story that anybody can enjoy, whether it's for young adults, whether it's for older adults. Anybody can really get into this book. There's something for everybody.
Immature adults like us?
Immature adults can enjoy it as well. Yeah. And I could see, I have a 13-year-old. I could see, him liking parts of this if I could ever get him to read the damn thing. But I think he would enjoy it. He was in here before we started tonight and he's like, oh, the Ghost Army. And I'm like, yeah, I think you'd like this. You should give it a shot.
Yeah.
So,
well, definitely a target audience. Yeah, I enjoyed the story as well. I think it's a nice. It's always fun reading like prequels, if you will, right? Like this falls underneath a prequel. It's almost like, I don't know, Star Wars prequels. I know that's a trigger for some people, but or anything that came before, like, I don't know, Harry Potter, right? It's the magical beasts or whatever.
Right.
Just that stuff always fun for me because there's always nods to what comes in the future.
Yeah.
And seeing how things happen. I know some people maybe don't like that because they just want to leave some things to mystery.
Or they want the canon to be the canon, right? They don't want anybody tinkering around with what's that word, retconning or making any adjustments.
God knows we've had some great stories or great episodes about retcons here.
Yeah.
In fact, we did a nice little 2-part series of Captain America retcons. So we did the top 10 other Cap retcons. So part 1 was in episode 84 and part 2 was in episode 89. So if you like retcons and you want to hear more about our thoughts on the top 10 Captain America retcons that are not the ones you're thinking of, right? Like just Avengers 4 and bringing back Bucky for Winter Soldier, but the other ones, it was fun. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But I think Alan did an amazing job of just subtle. Right. Like there were no really retcons here.
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about, I don't know, the first time Cap and Dum Dum Dugan met, but I'm not a big Howling Commando guy, so I don't really remember technically when they first met. And so I don't know if that was ever really truly addressed or admitted at the time. Like, oh, this is the first time.
Well, I think Sergeant Fury 13, right? Wasn't that that was sort of the time they made the pitch that this was their first time working together. But I think there've been other stories since that have.
Yeah. But this was but this was Dum Dum Dugan before he met Fury. So it could very well have been. Anyway, but I think it's subtle.
Yeah.
These revisiting these characters in their earlier days. I think it's pretty subtle. And so I enjoyed that aspect of it. And but even if you didn't know that stuff, just reading the story by itself, I think was fun.
Yeah. And I love, and you pointed this out along the way, we talked about at the beginning, how Alan plucked these obscure characters from MCU, not MCU, the Marvel Universe 616, right? Baskerville, Merida, and guys that hadn't been in a lot of books, or Crowler, and and gave them a little more depth, a little more complexity. And who doesn't like that, right? I think that's great. I love the challenge of that. Must be great for a writer. I look forward to asking him that. Because I got to think that, as when you're given a project like this, to be able to reach out and grab any character you want, maybe, and try to add a little bit of extra oomph to that character, and then have that be a bit of your legacy in the Marvel mythos. That's got to be cool.
It is. I thought Brent did a nice job with the illustrations. Has a little bit of a Steve Rude look to it, maybe a Chris Samney look to it. So nice style. And I'm sure it was really challenging for him too, with trying to be authentic to the time period of the military look, the civilian look, the vehicles, the weapons. I'm sure there was a lot of research done on his part. So looking forward to talking with him about that too. All right, Bob, you go first. What is your favorite panel from chapters 5, 6, 7, 8?
This is going to be an unusual one, Rick. Probably not the one that you expected of me, but it's those two last panels on page 103. And you mentioned this as you were doing your read through. It's the one, the left side is Bucky, the right side is Sophia. She's rolling her eyes at Bucky. And I just love this because this is, after all, a young adult graphic novel designed for kids, 13, 14, 15 years old. Right at that time when they start to get interested in each other, but they don't really know how to talk to each other yet. And there's these romantic sort of feelings, but there's also a lot of awkwardness. And I love this because these two panels like capture that perfectly. And I got to think for young adults who are reading this, they're going to see a lot of themselves in these two panels. And I think that's the mark of a great writer and a great artist, is to be able to get the readers to connect in some way. And Alan, he's written a lot of books, and they're designed for this audience, and they're designed so that the reader can put themselves into these heroic sorts of, characters' positions. And I think a lot of readers, they'll see the adventure, they'll see the heroism, but they'll also see that little bit of teenage awkwardness that we all feel at that age.
I love it. Yeah, I really did enjoy that panel as well, with her rolling her eyes. But again, with that smile, it wasn't like a mocking. It was more of a, like, I think you put it very well, awkwardness.
Yeah. So what do you got, Rick? What's your favorite panel?
Well, Bob, you know me. I'm a sucker for the shield ricocheting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with page 128, the last panel, panel 4. And it's when Cap's in the castle.
Classic. Yeah.
And he's on the walkie-talkie talking with Buck. And he's paying attention more to the conversation with Buck than he is with threat that's coming at him. And so he's not even looking, and he's just tossing his shield behind him, not even looking, hitting a wall, hitting a soldier, knocking him out, hitting a wall, ricocheting back into his hand. And so we don't even see the motion of Cap throwing it. We just see the motion of his hand extending, waiting for the shield coming back. With like a no look.
I love it. Yeah, he's not even looking in that direction. He's too busy talking on the phone.
Yep. Yeah. I that's my favorite panel.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Most people can't talk and chew gum at the same time, or walk and chew gum, and he can talk on the phone and effectively pinpoint precision throw his shield. Beautiful. So what about a t-shirt, Rick? You got anything you want to
a few pages later, I'm going to go with page 133. The first panel, and this is after the fuel tank explosion that ricochets him up into the 5th floor. He comes crashing through the window.
Yeah.
And you so aptly did the sound effect. But he's got his shield in front of him as he's going through the window, and so he's tucked up behind it. He's got his legs curled, his arms, his back hunched. So he's more like a ball coming through the window. That's pretty cool. I like that. Good action. Putting that on the t-shirt.
Love it. Nice selection.
How about you, Bob? What's going on your t-shirt?
I'm going with the panel at the bottom of page 106, Rick. So that's the one where we've got Bucky and Andre Maximoff and Sophia Maximoff standing behind Cap, and you see him Cap standing in the foreground a little bit. He's got his right hand clenched in a fist, and then he's got his left hand up and he's catching the shield as it comes back. And of course, it had just knocked out 3 animated suits of armor. And he says, finally, something I can hit. And I love that whole panel. I love the look on Cap's face. And I love the look on Bucky's face, because he's making a fist and he's just enjoying the show there. So I'm gonna, I think I'd like that on a shirt.
Yeah, that sounds good. And what are you going to put in your time capsule?
Well, Rick, I thought long and hard about this, and I'm a nostalgic guy, so I went on page 128. Yeah, and
ooh,
yeah. You know what I'm going for? I'm going for the handy talkie.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of folks would call that a walkie-talkie, but back when this was first fielded in 1941, the SR 536, otherwise known in Army nomenclature as the Bravo Charlie 611, was called the handy talkie. And it was first issued to paratrooper troops. So effectively, it was a walkie-talkie like radio receiver transceiver.
Or was it a droppy-talkie? Because they're paratroops.
Yeah, I guess if like you weren't holding on to it, it would be a droppy-talkie. Yeah, if it slipped out of your hand.
Maybe it's a floaty-talkie?
They don't float. Because you know why? Because with batteries, each of those weighed 5 pounds.
Oh.
So you imagine lugging that around, right? So by the time the troops hit the beaches of Normandy, they had about, I think, 6 of these issued to every rifle company. So they were the main means of communication among different platoons and the headquarters section and the weapons platoon. Very, very important weapon produced by the company that would eventually become Motorola. So that's cool. When you think about cell phones development over the course of the last decades, this company, Motorola, was the first to put these out. And I think by the end of the war, they had fielded something almost like 143,000 of these to U.S. troops. So very important piece of gear. I think it's awesome that Brent was able to incorporate this into the story in such an accurate way that it can be so readily identified. And, but it also, I've been in the field these days, and now they use basically, we still use radios out there in the field, but cell phones actually are much more prevalent now. They're highly encrypted, of course, and satellite cell phones. The days of these sorts of heavy radio walkie-talkies are long gone, but it's an interesting nod to a piece of technology that was important, but is no longer with us. So that's going to go in my time capsule.
I like it. I like it. Well done. And nothing, as a 25-year Marine veteran, I expect no less from you, Bob.
Well, thank you.
Yes. I always learn something from you.
Yeah. I also like the word, I like the nickname handy talkie, because I don't know, sounds like it could be like a dirty movie thing. So
bound chicka bound bound.
Can I get a handy talkie tonight?
Okay, Joe.
And Rick, what's your time capsule?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Bob. I'm going to go 5 pages prior to this.
Ooh.
It's the double page splash 122, 123. And that is all of the monsters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because these are classic monsters of that time period.
Yeah.
From the cinema, you have the werewolf, you have Frankenstein's monster, but the creature from the Black Lagoon. I mean, these definitely are part of a particular time period.
Yeah.
And so I think this is pretty cool. And I'm gonna I can't wait to ask whose idea, what were these monsters? Was it Alan's? Like, did he say, I want these particular monsters in here?
Yeah.
Or was it Brent? Did he go, oh, he's asking for monsters. These are the monsters that I want to put in here.
Right.
And if so, why?
Yeah.
I can't wait to ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be interesting to figure out there. Beautiful. Good choice.
All right. So yeah, if we haven't said it enough times, come back next episode where we talk to the writer and illustrator of this particular graphic novel. So Bob, We have some really cool stuff coming up after this. I can't wait to talk to people about what is happening over the next 4 weeks after this. Let's just say we have some pretty cool guests and a debut of a new series that we're going to explore.
Yeah.
And we're going to hit the 60s. We're going to hit modern time and a little bit in between.
And then at the end of all that, Rick, Santa's coming.
Yeah. Oh, Bob, you know what? We have to do our 3-year anniversary show.
Yeah. We should do a 3-year
Wow.
anniversary show.
And during our 3-year anniversary show, we're going to have to tie it into the holidays again. Like, right? Like, I know the first year we did like best and worst Captain America gifts.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
people called in and said, this is, what they enjoyed and what they, wanted and didn't. And then our 2nd year anniversary show, we did what would be your dream Cap gift?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I've got an idea, Rick. What about we focus outward instead of like what we'd want or what would be our gift or the worst gift. We could maybe like, what would we get like a Cap fan in our life, right? Somebody that we know who's a Cap fan as well. And what would we, what would we get them if money was no object?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If only I knew a Cap fan.
I know. I'm unfamiliar. I'm going to have to look through my Rolodex.
Yeah. All right. That's an idea. We'll have to think if that works. But yeah, we'll let's do that. Episode 167, Bob. It'll be our 3-year anniversary, and we'll tie it into the holidays as we have every time. So that's coming back in 3 weeks from now. So that'll be fun because that's perfect timing. It's that'll come out December 20th.
Love it.
Excellent. All right. Well, as always, Bob, it has been so much fun wrapping Cap with you.
It has. I can't wait till next week, Rick.
You are my golden girl, Bob. All right. He's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis, and you have been listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. Thank you for being a friend.
Nice.
All right, Bob. In the Golden Girls, who would you be and who would I be?
Ooh, that's a tough call. Well, who was Betty White again?
Betty White was Rose. She was kind of like a little dim-witted.
Yeah, I'd probably want to be Blanche, but I'd be Rose. So that's the way things work out. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you do play Rose in your role in the show.
Sure. Yeah.
You do.
Who doesn't love a Rose?
Everybody loved Rose. That's the thing. Yeah. And everybody loves you. So I think that's perfect. What about me? Which would I be? Dorothy, which is B Arthur, Blanche, Rue McClanahan, or would I be Sophia? The mom.
I think you're a Dorothy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a take charge sort of guy. I think Dorothy.
I didn't like her though.
No
one really liked her.
Oh, I like Dorothy because she held that whole group together. She was the glue that held them all together. Blanche was out getting drunk. Rose didn't know what the hell was going on. Sophia just came in for wisecracks every now and again, but it was Dorothy that, kept that whole team together. So,
I guess if I have to be one.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty cool in real life.
And then there was Maud.
I think she was a Marine. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think she was a woman Marine at some point. So, yeah, Maud. Right. Yeah. Spinoff, right?
Yeah, Maude was a spinoff of Archie Bunker, right?
Yeah. Was it Archie Bunker? I can't remember if it was Archie Bunker. Oh, that was Rhoda. I'm thinking of Rhoda. That was Mary Tyler Moore Show spinoff.
Yeah. Yeah. Archie Bunker
Yeah.
had spinoffs of Maude and then Jeffersons
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and then Gloria
Yep. Yep.
and then Archie's Place.
Yeah. Archie's Place. Wow.
Yeah.
I was, where I work out at the Crew Field Station, it's owned, the land is owned by the Water Management District, and they own the building, where they rent the building, I guess. It's a triple wide trailer. So it's me, my staff, the Fish and Wildlife Commission staff has a couple biologists there, and then the land management folks have 3 guys there. But they've, we got a couple outbuildings. They've got a lot of tractors, trailers, and it's a mess. It drives me crazy.
Mhm.
Because there's rusting stuff all over the place and piles of wood and materials. And whenever anyone comes out there, I always make reference to the fact that it reminds me of Sanford and Sons place.
Bow, jump, bow.
Yeah, right.
I want to do the theme. It's like
yeah.
down, 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 down.
But nobody gets that reference. I had one guy today.
They're coming to take me.
That's right. I had a guy today who got the reference. And he was older than I was. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the only reason he got the reference. But nobody
Wow,
else.
and he still works?
Well, no, he's one of my volunteers. I got it. Funny, good one. Yeah, yeah.
Because
So,
you're old.
yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Okay.